Today on this show, we're going to be talking about Raven from the Teen Titans and how she's actually an avatar for depression. Raven, daughter of Trigon, born in Azarath. The only way to protect herself from her father was for her to learn how to control her emotions and force herself not to feel them. In just that sentence alone, we've already covered how Raven is actually an avatar for depression. But before we really get into that, I just want to talk about what depression is and what it means. But before we even get into that, I just want to clarify that Raven has been around since the 1980s. She's an avatar for much more than depression alone. She is linked to so many things, but she is primarily a member of the Titans, meaning that everything that she is linked to is about emotions and interactions. Depression is a phrase that you hear a lot these days, like, oh, I was so depressed last night after such and such a thing happened, and when my favourite character died on this one TV show, I was depressed for a week. And while I feel like these sayings for a large part aren't hurting anyone, they're not exactly describing depression, at least not true depression. These people are describing sadness, and I suffered with depression for years, almost 10 years, and it was really bad and really painful. And I can tell you it's something much, much worse than just being a bit sad. When you're depressed, and when it's finally diagnosed and you're openly depressed and everyone knows that you're depressed, people say to you, cheer up, things get better, and just look up to the sky, there's always stars out at night, which means there's always light. When you're depressed, you don't believe that. There is no light when you're depressed. When you're depressed, you just feel horrible all the time, and just getting out of bed is so hard. It's like a black hole has sat itself on your chest, and you cannot feel anything, and the few times you are able to feel something, it hurts you badly. And sometimes things begin to hurt so badly, you begin to cry, and because you've started to cry, you begin to hurt even more. And before you know it, you've been crying for 12 hours, and you have to go to work or go to school and act like everything's okay. And it's not that no one would listen to you or understand if you told them that you were depressed. It's just that telling them the truth is way too hard. And in some cases, and this was my case, I'm going to be very open about this, this can lead to attempts of suicide and self-harming. Fortunately, I got through that. And fortunately, many others are also getting through that now. There are obviously many levels to depression, and I had a very extreme level of depression. But Raven is definitely an avatar for all depression. Raven had to suppress all of her emotions so her father wouldn't be able to find her and hurt her by turning her into his avatar. That directly links up with the fact that when you're depressed, you can't feel anything. And the few times that you do feel something, it hurts badly, mentally and physically. But one very important fact about Raven is she wasn't alone. She had friends in the Titans, and the people of Azarath were like her family. And that is so important for everyone to take note of. No matter how alone you feel, there's always going to be just one person. It might be the last person that you expect to do this, but just one person who is more than happy to sit down with you and just listen. And sometimes that's all you need to make it through to the next day. Just somebody who will listen to you. Another part of Raven that directly links up with depression is the fact that she's half demon, or rather half human. There's this common misconception that people with depression see themselves as some kind of creature outside of society, and that's not exactly true. When you're depressed, you don't feel like something that's not human, but you do feel like less of a human. And I really don't understand why, but I can very much say that I felt like I was less of a human being to everyone around me. I've talked to many friends who suffered with depression and a few family members who suffered with depression as well, and they all said that at the height of their depression, they did indeed feel like less of a human. So what about all the times that Trigon was trapped or destroyed? What the hell can they represent? The time that the Titans were able to trap Trigon, Raven still had to suppress her emotions to keep herself safe. Meaning there was still danger there, they were still at danger, it was just kind of put at bay for a little while. And I feel that has a very distinct meaning. I feel, and some of you will disagree with this, and I totally accept that disagreement, this is just my opinion, that those times that Trigon was trapped represents medicating depression and then not working through your problem at all. To my understanding, when you're medicating depression, you still need to work through your problem, so you're not relying on the medication forever. Which is why the medication is very, very dangerous, and some people just see it as a lie, and which is why a lot of people don't take it. No matter how much you can medicate trauma, it's never going to go away unless you work through it. Much like no matter how much the Titans trapped Trigon, he was always going to be there until they destroyed him. Now there are two times when you could say that Trigon has been destroyed that is directly linked with depression. The first time is when the souls of Azarath channel themselves through Raven, and Raven returns later on in a white cloak, and Trigon has been defeated. This, I feel, represents the love from friends and family constantly being there, reminding you that there is light, not everything is bad. The second time that Trigon's defeat is actually linked with depression is actually when Raven was taken over by Trigon and she went around planting the seeds of Trigon in other people, but she planted the good Raven into Starfire. This resulted in the Titans having to destroy the demonic Raven, and this allowed the good Raven to return as a pure spirit, totally free from her father's influences. Being a spirit, I feel, not only represents being totally free of your depression, but constantly wanting to better yourself as a person, wanting more for yourself, and finding true enlightenment. And it also represents not wanting anyone else to go through what you've been through, and only wanting the best for those in your life. Raven as a spirit was an avatar for light and just true positivity. If you are suffering with depression, let me tell you, I know exactly what you're going through, and let me tell you, it does get a lot better. A few years ago, I was heavily suicidal, I was self-harming a lot, and I didn't see any life anywhere. Now I'm happier than I've ever been. Things will seem hard at times, and things will seem impossible at times, but just keep going, because seeing the light is so worth it once you finally make it there. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. What are your opinions on Raven? Please let me know in the comments down below. Also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more on character videos, and also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my gaming channel, and support the show by checking out my Patreon. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.